were smart enough, they knew about options, they could have owned an awful lot of property.
Absolutely. Our guest tonight is going to be in seminar, and then later, as Tony told you, you can call 213-479-2258 and ask your questions directly because we are live. He's been an investor since in the 1970s here in this area, and he discovered some wonderful techniques, strategies, if you will, for purchasing real estate. Option strategies. That's what this is going to be all about. We'll tell you about how you can learn it at home, too, a little bit later on the program. But right now, in seminar, here on Real Estate Night on Everybody's Money Matters, is real estate expert, investor, and option strategy expert, Gary Cochran. Gary, welcome to Everybody's Money Matters.
Thank you very much. How many of you need more of this four-letter word right here? Cash. It is by far the single most important ingredient necessary to your success in real estate today. As Tony mentioned, we do have the opportunity of making cash, but we also have the opportunity of exposing ourselves to a number of different risks. What I'm going to show you tonight is an opportunity for each and every one of you to earn cash flow, and I'm going to show you how to do it with these three ingredients. Number one, we're going to show you how to do it with the least amount of risk possible. Ask yourself, is risk important? Can you lose money today? Yes, you can. But we're going to show you how you can minimize that potential by lowering your risk. Secondly, we're going to show you how you can do it with the least amount of borrowing possible. How many of you enjoy borrowing money? Does your blood pressure go up when you borrow money? Do you, in fact, face a dilemma each and every month because you have borrowed money? What we want to do is to show you how you can get this cash flow without borrowing. Finally, you've always been told that it takes cash to make cash. Well, we're going to show you how you can do it with virtually very little cash. Now, in order to do this, we must understand the concept of an option and the concept of an earnest money, a binder, a receipt, or the normal purchase agreement which we've used before. Now, as we look back on how you personally may have purchased a piece of property, you will remember that you probably signed an agreement. Now, that agreement had a space for your name as the buyer. On that same agreement, there was a space for the seller's name. So we had a buyer and a seller on that earnest money, receipt, and offer to purchase. Now, when we had that, if we were smart, we always want to prepare for what we call the unknown or the unexpected. Now, in order to do that, what we do is we include certain contingency clauses. Many people call them escape clauses, weasel words, something that allows us the opportunity to make sure that investment is right. In other words, to get out right up until the time of closing. We can do the same virtual purchase, and we're going to show you a big advantage of using the option. But I want you to see the difference. Now, an option by definition means the power of choice. It is the buyer's choice then to proceed or not to proceed. A regular earnest money receipt and offer to purchase is signed by the buyer and by the seller. Both parties have the opportunity of getting out up until closing. An option document, however, is much different. An option document allows only the buyer to get out. The option document is a simple contract signed by the seller of a property allowing you the right to purchase that property for a specified amount, for specified terms, during a set period of time. Now let's look at what that can do. Most of us probably have actually owned property before. Now, if we've owned property before, I think most of us will recognize that we all have certain responsibilities. We call those responsibilities when we actually purchase a piece of property in order to earn cash flow. We call those responsibilities the circle of ownership responsibilities. Now, when we purchase a piece of property, how many of you believe that each and every property out there can be purchased for absolutely nothing down? Most of us recognize that there's going to be a certain amount of cash down payment required. In other words, over 90 to 95% of all the purchases made of property in the United States today require that the buyer put up a form of down payment. Now let's look at those ownership responsibilities when we purchase a piece of property. Now this is under a normal purchase where we take ownership. The first thing we look at is, let's say we're going to buy a property for $100,000. If we buy that property, and we are fortunate, and we were only to put down 10%, that means that the first thing we're going to do is actually put into the property $10,000. We're putting money in when what we wanted to do was to get cash out. But still we know we can earn money, so we go ahead and pay the $10,000. The seller's not satisfied with $10,000. He in fact wants what? The other $90,000 of his equity. How do we pay that? We pay it with a loan. We take personal liability, we pay for that over an extended period of time. Now, in order not to make that payment all by ourselves, what we end up doing is deciding that we're going to rent or lease that property out. Now, can we always do it for an extremely positive cash flow or even a break-even? Most of us recognize that rents and payments are not always equal. And in fact, even if they are equal, we can still have a negative cash flow. That negative cash flow haunts many investors in the United States today, and all it is a regular loss. Once you rent that property out, though, and you experience this negative loss, you also become a landlord. Now, that also has responsibilities. It also has ownership responsibilities. Finally, what you're going to do is you can make this cash flow on this property, but you will have to wait for it. And what you're going to have to wait for is the closing on the property. Now, keep that in mind, and let's look at one other item. We're going to look at how you, each and every one of you, can experience an immediate cash flow using what we call real estate options. That is this document, the same as an earnest money agreement. Now, this program is for investors who fall in one of these four categories. If they're beginners, if they've never used options before, we're going to show you tonight on how you can use options to create a cash flow. Secondly, we're going to show you how you can do it with a very limited amount of cash investment. If you do not have cash, we'll show you how to do it. We'll show you how to do it without borrowing money, so you do not have to experience that credit. And finally, we're going to show you how to do it with the least amount of risk possible. Most of you may have heard of Bob Allen. In 1980, he wrote a best-selling book called Nothing Down. He talked about his first experience in real estate. He earned $30,000, and he did it with the technique of an option. As a result, he wrote this statement. He said, "An option is the greatest form of leverage available to the real estate investor today." Now, the term lever means a tool. You can lift a very heavy weight with a little bit of effort. Leverage in real estate means the ability to earn a great big profit with a little bit of effort. So when we think about leverage, when we think about an option, we know that it is in fact a tool of the super rich, but it is a super tool so you can become rich. Several months ago in a financial magazine, I read an article on options, and this is what it said. Whatever your reason for purchasing options, your risk is strictly limited to an amount you decide in advance. That's a rare combination of benefits: powerful leverage and limited risk. In other words, when you go into an option, you know what your downside risk is to start with. So we know then that an option is the power of choice. It's your choice to proceed or not to proceed. Now, doing this, we have certain benefits. Now, as you learn to use options, you're going to be able to negotiate for cash purchases without having the cash. Several years ago, I purchased my first option. I purchased a building lot. The price was $9,000. I put down $100, and I generated a profit when I sold it after real estate commissions of $9,000 after it was paid for. The final buyer paid all of the money to the seller. All I got was the $9,000, and I only paid $100. Once again, powerful leverage with limited risk. And you can use this technique for income property. You can also use it for apartments. You can use it for commercial property, residential property, even for raw land and agricultural property. Finally, right here we know that this document is only signed by the seller. You, the buyer, don't sign anything. As a result, you borrow no money, you have no personal liability. Third, because you do not have to borrow money, you are not responsible for the negative cash flow. The seller continues to make the payments on that property. You do not have to experience management. And finally, if you do these techniques correctly, the cash flow that you get, you will earn right at the closing of the property. what we're going to show you is that you can in fact use the option as a power of choice. You can become rich once you understand these techniques. Now, in order to do that, we're going to have to look at certain elements of an option. There are 5 of them, and we're going to go through those in just a few minutes. But what we want to remember are these benefits right here. These benefits will make you rich, but they'll make you rich because you do not have to have credit, cash, or experience. Now, in order to do this technique, we want you all to remember 2 basic items. The option is signed by the seller. You yourself do not sign anything. Now, let's review in just one further moment these techniques, but before we do, I think Tony Hoffman has some information he'd like to give you.
Right, Bob?
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, too. It's nice to have you with us tonight, Gary. I'm very interested in what he has to say, aren't you, Tony?
Super lecture. I've never heard Gary talk in lecture before, and he is just excellent.
Well, I only hope that all of you watching have paper and pen or pencil ready, because this is important information. Later, I'm going to tell you about a special buy we have on Gary's home study course on option strategies with the cassette tapes and the workbook, and that's only part of the story, because we're going to make an offer to you tonight that is less than 1/3 of the suggested retail price of what we're going to offer you. It's a golden opportunity, so take this option. Stay with us, listen to Gary, and we'll be back with a little review of what he's said so far, and then more after we pause for these very important messages for all of you. You've heard it said that knowledge is power. Well, it's true, particularly when you deal in the stock market. Here is what America's financial people deal in weekly to help them get the information they need for the over-the-counter and the NASDAQ markets. It's called the National Over-the-Counter Stock Journal. And here on Everybody's Money Matters, we'd like to offer you a trial subscription so that you can find out what this is all about. For just $39, you can get 6 full months or 25 issues of the Over-the-Counter Stock Journal. For $69, you can get a full year. Now, let me tell you what's in here. Every issue, you have new issue registration. You have track records of what the new issues are doing. Also, insider trading. And in addition to that, you have the pulse of the market. And in every issue, there are columns by 13 of the nation's top columnists when it comes to financial news. Here in the OTC Journal, you have people like Andy Rooney, Louis Rukeyser, just to give you an example of the kind of quality that you get in this weekly paper. You see, it gives you information more often, information you need to be successful in investing in the stock market. Now, if you'd like to have the 6-month trial subscription, you can call right now. Have a major credit card ready when you do, and call 1-800-772-7272 and tell them, yes, I'd like to have a 6-month trial subscription to the OTC Stock Journal for just $39. Now, you can save even more money if you'd like to subscribe for a year. A full year subscription, 49 action-packed issues, yours for just $69. And if you order the year subscription, as a bonus, we'll send you the Penny Stock Primer and also the Directory of New Issue Underwriters dated June 1986. Yours absolutely free. If you prefer to write, you may write to EMM, Post Office Box 507, Thousand Oaks, California 91359. Remember, you can call 1-800-772-7272 right now. $39 for 6 months, $69 for a year.
Well, right after this segment with Gary, we're going to open up the lines, and they're lit up, but there's still a couple there. So if you want to talk to Gary, you've got a question on real estate options, you call 213-479-2258. Don't forget, let the phone ring. If you get through, just let it ring till we get to it. If it's busy, hang up and try again. But right now, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right back to Gary and seminar.
We mentioned that the option is your vehicle to make cash flow. Now, if it's a vehicle to make cash flow, I want to give you one very important item of information right now. And you should write this down on a pad of paper right now at home. And it is the following statement. And that is that you always negotiate to purchase, you never negotiate to option. Because what does a seller really want to do? A seller wants to get cash. A seller wants to sell his property. And what we want to show you how to do is to use the option as a vehicle for purchase, just like you would an earnest money. But you're going to receive all of those benefits that we talked about and avoid all of the responsibilities of ownership. Now, if that can make you money, and I can guarantee you that it will, you must remember that the law states that that option is not going to be worth anything. It's a big goose egg, nothing at all, unless it has 5 elements. Now, these are the 5 elements you must remember. Number 1 is that the option must name the parties involved. Now, when we talk about a regular earnest money, we had a buyer and the seller. The same thing is true with an option. We once again have a buyer and a seller, but only the seller signs the option. We want you, the buyer, to fill it out. Now, we have both of those parties. We have that first element of the option. We then go to the second one, right down here, which is the property description. And don't put down 1222 North Elm Street, because that's not sufficient. What you really want to put down is the legal description of that property. And we'll show you in the materials that you're going to be able to purchase tonight how each and every one of you will be able to locate that property description if you don't know it. Now, if you were to buy a piece of property and you were to buy it for $20,000 under value, and you can do that if you pay cash for a property, and then you were to resell it under a regular contract to your neighbor, and the seller were to find out about it, I guarantee you he'll try to go around you. Now, with an option, he can't do that, because an option has no contingencies. But once again, you must protect yourself. In order to do that, you need the legal description so that you can fill out what is called the Notice of Interest or Memorandum of Option. Now, that document is notarized. You fill it out the following day after the option, and then by taking that document, you protect that profit, and you can be guaranteed that that seller cannot go around you when you find a buyer for the full market price when, in fact, you've negotiated a lower price. The third element is what we call the terms of the option. That's how much you're paying for the option, how long the option is for, how many extension periods you have, are there any other additional rights, zoning changes. If you want to have the opportunity of changing the zoning on a property, you can do that with an option because you represent the seller. It must be done in his name, but you must have that right. That's why we give you all of these clauses so that you can use them as part of the terms of option. You may recall that some of you have done fix-up properties before. Now, a fix-up property we'll go through in a minute, but you have to have the right to work on the property. Finally, let's look at how long an option is for. Most of us recognize that if we were to get an option from a seller, that option should be for as long as possible. However, the seller is expecting to close in a normal amount of time. Usually 60 to 90 days is quite common. So that's what we negotiate, a 60 to 90-day period of time. During that first period, we're going to show you how to keep the lowest amount of consideration possible. We want to always have the lowest amount. But we're going to tell the seller, we may not get this closed on time. And one of the things that we do is that we give you all of the dialogue. We give you the negotiation steps. Now, when we tell the seller we may not get closed on time, I guarantee you the seller becomes nervous. So this is what we say. We say, Mr. Seller, don't you think you should be adequately compensated with additional, non-refundable consideration if I take longer to close on the property? Because your consideration is non-refundable. Undoubtedly, the seller will say yes. Do you realize what he has just done? He has agreed to extend that option for as many periods as you need. Now, using that, we move right on to the terms of purchase. The terms of purchase are how much you're paying for the property, how much it's worth, all of the personal property involved, how will the escrow be handled, as complete as any earnest money agreement. Everything is there. Finally, we go to the consideration. Many people ask me, what can I use for consideration? You can use cash, but let's remember what the law states. The law states that the option consideration must be given and it also must be received. So if you use cash, make sure you get a receipt. You can use a note as long as it's not contingent upon something else. You can also use personal property. You could use a 1974 GMC pickup truck, no right front fender, the horn doesn't work, and the lights only work when you're going in reverse, as long as the seller is willing to accept it. Now, those are the elements of the option. Let's see how we can make money with just one technique. We call this the option fix-up technique. Now, we're going to go through this really rapidly, but the option fix-up technique means that you can fix up a property you don't own. In other words, you're going to get the lowest price because you're dealing for cash. You'll probably get even a $10 consideration for it for the first option period, because the seller is getting you to fix up his property at your own expense. Now, once you do that, you're going to put in your fix-up costs. These may be carpets, it may be drapes, just as Mark did on this particular example. Mark put in carpets, drapes, he put in the kitchen countertop, landscaping on a side yard, $2,500. How much was he in this property at this point? $2,510. But he had avoided all of the down payment, the negative cash flow, because a fix-up property is vacant. It is usually a trash property. At this point, he had the property appraised. It appraised for $38,000. Now, Mark wanted to make sure that this is not a fluke, that he could do it again. He took the first offer that came along. He took it the first day. It was for $30,000. Now, the offer was actually from the grandson of the person that gave Mark the option. The grandson knew exactly how much he'd paid for the property. Now, when he did that and he closed, this is what happened to the money. $18,000 went up to pay for the option. He didn't have to come up with it. $2,500 went up to pay back the money he borrowed to fix up the property. He was left with $9,500. What this meant is that Mark had no cash down payment on this technique, no personal liability, no negative cash flow, no management, and best of all, he got that $9,500 when the property was closed. Now, let me give you a couple of quick techniques to remember. When we do this, there are a number of different ways we can make cash flow. We can make it with fix-up properties. We'll show you how to do the fix-up properties step by step. If you'll go through it, you'll see that it is listed. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, Step 4, right down the line. Duplicate what we've told you. We'll show you how to change zoning, how to option bargain price properties. We'll show you how to do all of those other techniques you see on the chart right there. Every one of them is included in what we call secret real estate cash flow techniques. It's a program that works. I want you to remember what Andrew Carnegie said, responsible for more self-made millionaires than probably any man in history. He said the following statement, and he said, "Show me a man who can make a decision and stay with that decision, and I'll show you a man who will succeed." If you'll make the decision to use options and then stay with that decision by investing in yourself and learning to do it, I guarantee you will be able to succeed.
Thank you, Gary. That was really an inspiring talk, and we're going to talk with Gary a bit more and give you an opportunity to talk with him as well. He's alluded to a home study course and has shown you the workbook on several occasions, some of the things from it. The basic course we're talking about, and this is a complete course on real estate options, is this, which is in a library type of container, and inside here are 8 audio cassette tapes, professionally done, so that you can understand him just as you could here on the air. You talk about someone who can really get through to you and explain to you step by step how you do it. Gary Cochran can, and it's all in here with those tapes and also this workbook. This was made to sell for $295, but we're making you a special offer. Remember I said you're going to save a lot of money? It's $219 for those of you watching Everybody's Money Matters right now. I'll tell you how you can order. It's $295. You can call this toll-free number, 1-800-772-7272, and have Visa or MasterCard ready when you call, and just say you want options. $219. $295 was what it was made to sell for. But that's not all, as they say on television, right?
What else are you going to get?
Well, look at this, Tony. This is Gary Cochran's secret real estate cash flow techniques. Now, what Gary means by secret is not like, we're going to whisper it to you like this. What he means is that these are techniques which have been used, which he has perfected, which he's going to pass on to you to give you that leverage. Remember he mentioned the leverage is a tool? This gives you the tool you need to make these options work. This was made to sell for $395, but you're not going to pay that for it. You're going to get this absolutely free when you buy this home study course for $219. And there's more. You also get something that sold for $179 when it first came out, and it's the beginner's approach to options with little or no risk. In here, you have all the terms you need to know and step by step how a beginner can really make some money. Again, this is free. All of this, 16 tapes, workbook, and this, yours for $219 if you call right now. You can call 1-800-772-7272. It's only $219 plus $12 shipping and handling. If you prefer to write, you may write to EMM, Post Office Box 507, 2000 Oaks, California, 91359. Well, I hope that a lot of people call, don't you, Tony?
I'm sure that they will, but speaking of calling, if you'd like to call and talk to Gary, we're getting him over here in the hot seat right now, so get your calls in, 1-213-479-2258, 1-213-479-2258. It's Tuesday, it's August 19th, and we want to hear from you tonight. We'll be right back right after this.
All of us involved in everybody's money matters, both those of us you see and those of us you don't see, have one goal in mind, and that is to keep you up to date with the ever-changing financial world. We bring guests to you that could benefit all of you. And the other day, Tony and I were talking, and I said to Tony, maybe some of our viewers have a business or they know of a product that could benefit everybody who watches this show. So we're going to give you that opportunity. During business hours, Monday through Friday, you can call area code 213-473-4020. Tell us about that business. Tell us about that product. Our researchers will look into it, and if it fits the format of Everybody's Money Matters, you could be in this all-important guest chair right here on a future program. So remember that telephone number. It's area code 213-473-4020. Tony, our first guest tonight is really exciting.
He certainly is.
The experts are making money in the precious metals market. They make money when it goes up or when it goes down. Do you want to find out how? Now you have the opportunity to get started by learning how to buy and sell gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rare coins in the Precious Metals Home Study course. With these 3 cassettes and written transcript, you'll learn why palladium may be the next hot precious metal, how to make money in the futures market, man makes gold from ocean water, and you'll learn how to select a broker. This course will show you how to get started in the precious metals and futures markets now. Only $49 plus. If you order today, we'll send you a full year of Tony Hoffman's newsletter, The Hoffman Report, absolutely free. Find out what's going on inside the world of finance from the experts in The Hoffman Report. To order, write this address or call 1-800-772-7272 now. Have Visa or MasterCard ready and ask for precious metals. This course comes with a 6-month money-back guarantee. Offer good for a limited time only, so call 1-800-772-7272 now. Boy, for a person with money or without money, or for someone who's a beginner or a seasoned veteran in investing in real estate, what Gary Cochran is talking about tonight is important.
It certainly is, and rather than me ask you a lot of questions on options, which I'm sure I could do, why don't we go right to the phones, Gary? It was just a great talk. We got a lot of people out there. Where are we going to go, Bob?
We're going to Oregon for our first call, and Steve from Hood River is on line 1.
Hi, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Yeah, I can just barely hear you.
All right, let me try it. Can you hear me better now? No.
No, still can't.
How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Steve, what's your question?
Okay, Gary, my question is, if I make an offer to the guy in cash and get the seller to come down in price and then renegotiate with somebody else and they can do their own financing, is that person still bound by that agreement?
With an option, he is absolutely bound, because the difference of an option and an earnest money is that the earnest money has the buyer and the seller, with both having contingencies. Many people have been taught and falsely believe that if they can get out of it, being the buyer, the seller can't. That's not true. However, with an option, the seller is bound. There are no contingencies. He is locked in 100%. He's not going to be able to go around you, Steve, by finding out what you're doing. But if you do not have that option document and you try to do it with a regular earnest money contract, you may succeed, but the chances are he will try and go around you, and he may do that unless you protected yourself with the correct option strategies.
How's that, Steve?
Okay, great. Because what he's doing is he wants the $130,000 for the property, and then he would carry like a contract for the remainder balance. He wants $30,000 down. He'd carry $100,000 in the contract. This is just supposing. Now, what I need to know is, like, so since he wouldn't have to carry that $100,000, would he more likely be willing to come down price if I could say get him to come down to $100,000 and
Yes, he would probably come down in price. The discounts that you can get by giving cash to a seller can be very substantial. And by the way, many beginning investors don't think that that seller will actually give them the option. Remember, however, that you must always negotiate the option as a vehicle for purchasing. Once you do that, you're going to be able to get what you're really after. And that's that discount, and then you're going to lock in the difference, which is your cash profit that you can receive, Steve, right at closing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for calling, Steve. All right, we've lost that one. I'll tell you, we lost line 2. We can jump over right now to line 3.
To St. Louis, Missouri, and Rick should be online.
Hello, Rick.
Hello.
Rick, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, your question for Gary.
Okay, what I wanted to ask Gary was on the options, when you're dealing with the seller, is there a special procedure that is used, or I know that there's probably a special form, but is everything handled the same way as you would handle a regular sale contract?
Yes, you handle it in the same way in the fact that you're using it as a vehicle of purchase. But you must remember that you are going to negotiate certain items in a certain order. If you recall in the seminar that I just gave, there were 5 elements that you must have in the option agreement. The first being the names of the parties, the property description, finally we go right to the terms of option, the terms of purchase, and we end up with the consideration. That's not the order we're going to negotiate with the seller. We're going to negotiate, very honestly, 3 items, and we'll give you those in the right order and the dialogue you're going to say. And we're going to show you how to do that so that the seller is always remembering that he's selling his property. He's not concerned with optioning, he's concerned with selling. You're only going to use the option as a vehicle for purchase. When you do that, what you're going to end up with is the opportunity of locking in your cash profit.
How's that? You got okay, Rick?
Can I say something else?
Sure.
I want to know, how can I be a Tony's Tiger? I think I'm going to close tomorrow.
All right, a lot of people don't know what Tony's Tiger, we haven't talked about in a long time. If you bought a property with no money down, we want a picture of the property, we want a letter from you telling us how you did it, and we will send you out a membership card to Tony's Tigers, and we'll send you out all the other good stuff that goes with it, and if it's a good enough story, we'll have you on the air.
Okay.
All right, send it to the post office box Bob's going to be talking about, all right?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for calling, Rick, and we've got a lot more calls coming up. We'll be right back. But first, Bob, you have something.
I sure do. Tony, you got the Hoffman report over there, too. You were mentioning Tony's Tigers, and the second in the Hoffman reports is now out. That's the first.
This is the first edition. I don't have a second edition, but they're out in the mail, and everybody's gotten them, and there's a great story about Tony's Tiger in there.
Steve, you could wind up in that story there, too, because there's a Tony's Tiger report every month in the Hoffman report.
Whole complete story.
You know, I'm excited about this package. First of all, I know that you watching Tony and me and our guest tonight, Gary Cochran, have to have the same appreciation for his ability as I do, and that is, obviously he does this investing. He works with options. This is not something he thought, I think I'll write a home study course on options. He's done this since in the 1970s, and the way that he has of explaining thoroughly, not going around the horn and think, what did he say? But he's direct. And in this home study course on these audio cassette tapes, he has exactly the same approach. And this home study course includes the workbook plus 8 tapes, made to sell for $295, yours for $219 tonight. Plus you get Secret Real Estate Cash Flow Techniques, 8 more audio cassette tapes. This was made to sell for $395. It's yours free. And also something you can't do without. This book is worth as much as we're asking for the whole course. I'll tell you the truth. A beginner's approach to options with little or no risk. Here's what you do. Have Visa or MasterCard ready and call toll-free 1-800-772-7272. Remember, it is $219 plus $12 handling and shipping. If you prefer to write, you can write to this address, make check or money order out to EMM. Keep it 6 full months. If you're not delighted, keep it for a full refund. Call or write right now. Back with Gary Cochran and more telephone calls from you all over America. What's on your mind? Right after this, we'll be back. Like to have customized stationery at the stroke of a pen, or sign into a hotel in seconds, or have instant business card information? Now you can with a pen that has a personalized rubber stamp hiding inside the cap. It's the new revolutionary stamping ballpoint pen. Here's how it works. The custom-made rubber stamp pops out self-ink ready to use. Simply apply light pressure and you'll get clean, smudge-free impressions like these. 4 lines of personalized information gives you enough room for your name, street, city, zip, and phone number, or any other message you'd like. It's the perfect gift for any occasion or for your customers. To order your stamping ballpoint pen, write this address or call 1-800-772-7272 now. It's only $29.95 per pen plus $3 handling and postage. It comes with a 30-day manufacturer's warranty. Call now, and we'll also send you free information on how to share these pens with your friends and make money with our unique network marketing plan. Call 1-800-772-7272 now. Does going to the moon change your belief in God? Captain Ron Evans, one of the 19 Apollo astronauts selected in 1966, would like to share the ultimate personal experience with you and answer this question and others about being an astronaut. He can vicariously take you along from blast-off to lunar orbit to extravehicular experience and back to Earth. All of it is included in video cassette and audio cassette form. And you can share this experience for just $59.95, something that you'll keep for a lifetime and share with your family, with your grandchildren for generations to come. Yes, Ron Evans, astronaut, would like to invite you to fly with him to the moon as he tells you all about what it's like to prepare, how he felt when he was selected to be an astronaut, and his thoughts as he was all alone as command module pilot going in lunar orbit, longer than any other man in or out of this world. Wouldn't you like to share that experience? It's only $59.95, and you can do that on audio cassette and videotape. In what we're offering you, there are 2 audio cassette tapes, absolutely entertaining and delightful by Ron Evans. The videotape with Ron also includes the official NASA tape that shows you walking on the moon, that shows you the command module as it's going in lunar orbit, everything that happened on Apollo 17. You can share with Captain Ron Evans. You can call right now and order yours for $59.95. If you prefer to write, you may write to EMM, Post Office Box 5072, Thousand Oaks, California 91359. Ask for Ron Evans Astronaut, only $59.95. Or you can call 1-800-772-7272. Have Visa or MasterCard ready when you call. When you receive your material, keep it for 6 full months. If you're not delighted, return it for a full refund. Call right now for Ron Evans Astronaut at 1-800-772-7272.
Okay, well, now let's get back to the phones. I've got a question I'm going to ask in a moment, and that's if you're a beginner, how do you go about putting the courses together? But first, let's get to the phone, see how many calls we can get in speedball time.
Okay, line number 1, Alan in Santa Monica, California.
Alan.
Yes.
Your question.
Yes, sir. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I would like to know on an option situation that I'm faced with. I'm about to put in an offer on 15 acres of raw land, which are divided to 3 5-acre parcels. There is another property owner who owns an adjoining 5-acre lot, which, if combined with the 15 acres I want to buy, would make it a more desirable overall piece of property to sell later on. What I would like to know is, for that seller who's the possible person who's got the other 5 acres, how would I guesstimate how much an option to buy those 5 additional acres would be worth?
All right.
One thing you must remember is an option is really relative, the value of it is to the length of period of time of that option. So if you're only talking about 30 to 60 days, you're going to be able to get it for a very small amount of money. If you're looking at, say, 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, you may have to pay more. Generally speaking, I always keep my options, the consideration for that option, less than 1% of the purchase price. Now, you should be very careful about raw land and the fact that this is an ideal situation for options, because if you were to buy it, you're going to have an immediate negative cash flow. However, with an option, you're going to avoid it. So I think by combining that with your 15 acres and using an option correctly and follow the techniques we give you, you'll be able to do that and lock in that purchase price and make a better profit by having a better package when you're done.
All right.
Thank you. That's a great answer.
Thank you. We have a great guest with us. Where are we going to go right now?
We are going to Richmond, Virginia, line number 3, and Travis.
Hi, Travis. Hello, Travis.
Hello.
Your question, Travis.
Hello?
Chavis? Chavis, can you hear me?
Tony?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Your
Good
question.
night. I appreciate your call.
What's your question?
My question is, I'm dealing in some property here in Virginia, and Gary has stressed options. However, we do it down here. We write a contract to buy property, and we do it and or assigns. Rather than optioning the property, we assign it.
Okay.
And I wonder what Gary thought about that.
Gary?
The technique will work. I always use and or assigns on my option agreements. I actually put it in my agreement 2 times, right after my name to put the seller on notice I'm going to do it. I also have a clause that states that this option can be assigned, transferred, or otherwise disposed of as the optionee, and that's me, desires. The problem with doing what you're talking about doing is that you always have the liability that the seller is going to try and get out of that sale up until the time of closing. You may assign your option, but if he gets out of it, you're not going to be able to get anything. As a result, those assignments of a contract, rather than the assignment of an option, are always worth a lot less money because there's too many unknowns, too many contingencies.
All right.
Yes, we had a bad connection, Tony. The liability aspect is something I heard briefly. Could Gary elaborate on that a little bit?
The liability...
Very quickly, Gary, 'cause we've got a lot of calls.
The liability aspect of losing your own money, losing the credibility also with your future buyer. You must make sure that you have an ironclad deal. The option allows it, the earnest money or the contract does not.
Good. Thank you for your call. Now let's go to line number 2. And on line number 2, again in Richmond, Virginia, is Debbie, or Deborah.
Hello, Deborah.
Hello.
Are you in Richmond, Virginia?
Yes, I am.
Hi, 2 people in a row from the same city. Your question?
My question is, I have bought a house in Richmond with the FHA 235 assumed loan. And the reason that I'm calling is that I have been trying, have been real interested in real estate. But the problem is I'm on a low fixed income. And I was wondering how a person that's on a low income that can't afford to pay the $219 all at one time, how they could work something out where they could get started out in their own business.
Okay, as I understand your question, what you're really wondering is how you're going to be able to get started with a low amount of money, whether it's on your FHA property or something else. The one nice thing about options is that you can buy that option, use that consideration. You can use a note, you can use personal property. In fact, I have got one good friend. He is now an ideal friend because he started using options. The last time I saw him, he was in Cincinnati, Ohio. He had 6 options. Each of them cost him $1. So use them correctly.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Deborah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, what I was interested in, the house that I have now is I've got the interest rate down to 6.9 interest rate.
Your question?
And the real estate man told me that I would be better off to try and rent, get a mortgage out on this house.
Yeah, give us a question, Deborah.
What's the question?
Finance another house.
The answer to that one is, if you got it down to 6%, you ought to try and just keep that one and rent it out. Don't get rid of that 6% loan. Okay?
Well, okay, thank you a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
What would you suggest, Gary, when the people get your home study course we're talking about? I know we have the bonuses and we have the basic course. Would you begin with the beginners, the green book?
Yes, I would. The reason I would begin with that is that there are no tapes with that one. The individual can go through that and use the green course right there. It has all the legal forms. And if you'll open it up to, say, page 58 in that area, you'll see that there are 3 techniques. One of them is optioning paper. We'll show you how to do that. Optioning bargain price properties, even optioning fix-up properties. And they're listed step 1, step 2, step 3. In other words, we'll get you started with that green book to start with. In other words, you'll have the confidence to proceed. Once you've done that, then you can immediately move into the orange course, which is our option strategies. We'll give you all different kinds of options. We'll show you how to fill out the rest of the forms. We'll get you going. Finally, the last course, which is our secret real estate cash flow techniques, is the most exciting of all because we're going to give you step-by-step instructions for all of those different strategies we showed on the board. How to option foreclosure property, how to option conversion property, how to option all of the different types of properties such as fix-ups, how to do paper, how to negotiate, all listed step by step. So go through it in that order and use the Green Book as a guide.
I added up the suggested retail price, and it comes to $869. Yours has a special on Everybody's Money Matters because yours does to us. We want you satisfied. $219. Now, you can keep it for 6 full months. If you're not delighted with it, send it back for a refund. But don't miss this opportunity. All of this material, 2 workbooks, and in addition, that green beginner's book, and 16 audio cassette tapes, all for $219. Have Visa or MasterCard ready and call this.
Efforts, it happened. After Byron Scott hits this three-pointer, and the Lakers go out to a quick 11-4 lead, the Bucks settle down and started to get back into the game. Craig Hodges with a move through the lane, and it's tied at 23. Bucks go ahead by 4 at the quarter as Cooper's air ball is rebounded in the outlet to Pressey, who buries this shot. Stop and pull it up and shoot it for a three-pointer. Bucks carried a 6-point lead into the second half and moved the margin to 15 at the end of 3 as Hodges hits 2 3-pointers in the third stanza. There's one with Magic Johnson watching from the bench. This game was all over. Bucks win and win it big at the arena. What an effort by Terry Cummings. Watch him work underneath.
The windmill resounding jam. By the way, Milwaukee and my personal favorite mascot, Bango the Moose. And the Bucks were up only by 3 over the Lakers at the half. But watch this as Kareem's pass is intercepted. And look at Jack Sikma off the glass here, muscling everybody, and the Bucks are suddenly up by 12. An explosive third quarter, and it continued as they piled it on. The miss and then the save to Paul Pressey, who goes wall to wall. Pressey had 27 points, and the Bucks blew out the Lakers 116-93. Sacramento losing at the Silverdome. Adrian Dantley struck for 31.
Death is inevitable. Everything else is negotiable.
What are their names, Tom?
We'll see you next time. This is Truffles and Ruffles. Come here, Nick. Will you come get these things? Hold on.
I'm going to ask you if you'd like to join the American Association.
You're watching Tempo Television. We've got your interest at heart.
Sound better? It's a non-profit organization that stands up for its 20 million members on issues like Social Security and taxation. Would you like that? It can save you money on health care, prescriptions, and insurance, plus discounts on travel, hotels, motels. It's very tempting, isn't it? You even get Modern Maturity, a great bi-monthly magazine, all for only $5. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I join? Call 1-800-453-5433. See? You just decided to join that group you thought you had to be retired to join. AARP. All you have to be is over 50. So call 1-800-453-5433. I knew you would.
Tempo Television.
How do you feel about yourself? Are you self-confident? Are you motivated? Do you procrastinate? Do you really feel that it's possible for you to succeed? You stay with us, because during the next few minutes, right here on this program, we're going to show you how you can program yourself for success on this edition of Everybody's Money Matters. Do you
attract the right people?
And what we're
looking for our tenants, first of all, you have to do a proper screening, but I like to have families, not just single people, but families that want to stay long-term.
In fact, the average length of one of our tenants staying in a property is from 3 to 5 years because we screen the people so well.
Do you, when you are renting to some of these individuals, do Give us an idea as to just how you do go about screening them. How extensive do you get into where they work, what kind of credit they've had, that kind of thing?
Let me give you a couple of hints right now, if you don't mind if I take that, Irving. One of the hints is we will check a credit check on the people, but one of the easiest way to tell whether or not a tenant's going to be a good tenant is take a look at their automobile. You know, if you see a car that they own, there's McDonald's wrappers over there, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken wrappers, those type of things. If they're picking the car, it could be the same way in your property.
All right, but let me ask you something. What would prevent people who would be good tenants and could afford this rent for 3 to 5 years from just going out and buying their own house? Why would